Thanks for listening to the NVTV podcast, produced by Nequa Media.
Welcome to this episode of the NVTV podcast. I'm Hannah Aurelio. On today's show, we will be discussing the recent field trip to Marquette Cadaver lab that the Anatomy and Physiology students took. Joining me today is Dr. Fuys, an anatomy teacher, and Milena Coelho, a student in Anatomy and Physiology. Thank you both for being here today. So Dr. Fuys, my first question is to kind of grasp how Nequa got to go here. What is the origin of the field trip, and how did we get this special opportunity?
Well, we have looked for a way for our students to be able to experience authentic anatomy and physiology, and really the best way to do that is to see it for real on real bodies. Now, there are places that we could go locally. Loyola, the National College of Chiropractic, even College of DuPage do cadaver dissections and open their labs up to field trips, but we have an alumnus, Diane Novotny, up at Marquette running the anatomy department, and she keyed us in on the opportunity that we could have to go up there, and it's a much different experience up there. So it's far superior to anything that we could get locally. It's worth the drive.
Yeah, and then have you, prior to being a teacher at Nequa and going on this field trip, have you had the opportunity to go to a cadaver lab?
Oh yeah, I was a chiropractor before, so I spent many hours in a cadaver lab. When we did our anatomy courses, we had a lab associated with it, and it was a full body dissection. So, yeah, I'm very well familiar with the cadaver lab.
And then Milena, more going towards the experience of it, what do you think your favorite part of being there was?
I really liked the cadaver lab, kind of like seeing what a real body looks like instead of, just dissecting the sheep parts and, the cow eyes. And I thought it was very cool to see, a human body and, the human anatomy, in real life. And I got to feel and kind of, touch, the different muscles and, the bones and the organs. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and then I know for me going into it, I was nervous about being, not more the physical side of it, but the emotional side, this person was alive and they had a family, and I didn't know if I'd be able to handle that. But did you have any fears going into it?
I didn't have many emotional fears like that. I definitely was scared, because I haven't experienced that I was going to feel sick or nauseous, but I don't really get grossed out easily, so I was still very scared because it's not something I've done before. But I was surprised that I was very okay. I was not really nauseous, which kind of surprised me too, because I thought maybe I'd feel a little bit sick, but I was overall pretty good.
Yeah, and then Dr. Fuys, just from looking around the room, are you able to tell if students are about it, or if they're enjoying it?
Oh yeah, you can definitely tell. There are signs when students aren't feeling good that we can see, but that's so rare with our Nequa groups. And, I'll give Marquette a lot of credit, too. They have many TAs in there watching over you very carefully. They're hovering in the background. You probably didn't even notice them.
And what's your favorite part of going every year?
Oh, I love seeing the reactions the students have and the experience they get, because you really can't get it any other way. Being able to actually touch things and handle the anatomy physically, interacting with it, is great. And watching them do that for the first time is pretty rewarding.
And then what do you think are some of the major benefits of going to a cadaver lab?
I think the major benefit, especially when we go at the end of the year. We've already studied all the anatomy, so it's reinforcing everything that we've done throughout the year. And it's validating, the learning that's taken place, because students actually can recognize the things that the TAs are showing them and answer their questions, and it's great that way for student confidence.
And then for you, Milena, what at the stations, there are different stations with different body parts. What was your favorite station to be at?
I definitely liked seeing the brain because we got to see the brain, the spinal cord. We got to see like half the brain, and we got to like relearn a bunch of like the grooves and everything and what it all means. But I also did like they had the chest open so you could see the heart, the intestines, and I think that those two were probably my favorite because you got to see the most of like really like what's inside you and like the craziest things like holding a heart or holding a brain. Like, you never really say that, and it's crazy to be like, I went and I held a heart or I held a brain at Marquette.
Yeah. Were you able to, relate what you've learned in the classroom, like, to the body? Like, when they asked, like, when they were like, oh, you see the femur, like, what's this part? Were you able to, like, remember that?
Yeah, definitely for, like, some of the things that we've been learning, like, more recently, I was like, okay, yeah, like, I remember that. Like, remember learning about the different bones and like where they all are, how they're moving. Like the knee replacement was cool, and like kind of like why it's like that and how it has to be like that to make sure the knee still functions. And I think it definitely helps to have already learned everything and then go, because then you again like basically you already know what's happening and you can apply your knowledge now.
Yeah. And then Dr. Fuys, could you just give us a little bit of background about your career and how you got to be a teacher?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I was a chiropractor for almost 20 years before I went into teaching, and had my own practice in Downers Grove, and it was doing fine. And then I worked with high school students at my church and did Sunday school with them and loved it, and thought, I'm getting to be like near 40. If I don't make a career change, I probably never will. And so at that point I looked into what it would take to become a teacher, found a program locally at Benedictine University, and just got into it and just went for it. And since then, I've been mostly here.
Milena, are you considering any career in the medical field?
Yeah, I've considered nursing for a while, just because I think it'd be I like to be hands-on and like helping people. And I also don't know if really like, I'd always want to be a doctor, but it's a lot of school. And I don't know if I am really up for it, like right out of high school. So maybe I start out in nursing and then go back and get my degree. But yeah, I've always considered medical field.
And then do you have any advice for students who are wanting to go into the medical field and go to medical school?
Yeah, well, NICWA has so many opportunities that are set up to help you with that career path, and certainly taking the courses is part of that, and that includes anatomy. It's a great class for you to get your feet wet and see what kind of the coursework might be like in that sort of a field. But outside, there are all kinds of things you can do. There's Science Olympiad, there's AMP, who I'm the sponsor of that, the Aspiring Medical Professionals, that you can become a part of and interact with other students that are thinking about a career path that might be similar to that. So I highly encourage you to take advantage of what we have here at NICWA.
Yeah, and I assume you think that NICWA is a very good a very good school to start with and preparing students for going into schooling that's rigorous and difficult.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I teach the same anatomy class at the College of DuPage, and our NICWA students are much better as far as their performance go.
And Milena, with your experience with the class, do you think that it's going to prepare you for maybe a higher level anatomy class in the future?
Yes, I think that it's taught me a lot, and I think it's taught me a lot of like what I have to work on to make sure I get the grades that I want, and to really like it's helped me learn how to apply my knowledge and like what I've learned. And I think it's going to be very helpful going into college level anatomy classes to already have that basic information.
Yeah, and then just kind of like a more personal question to you. Throughout this year, what has been your favorite part of the body to learn, or your favorite system?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. I really enjoyed learning about the bones, actually. I really liked doing the bone practicals because I got to, like, look at, like, the human bone, and I got to learn about, like, why it's shaped like that, why it's in that certain part of the body, kind of like how our bodies have the bones to be a certain way. And I thought it was cool to learn about the head, the posterior, the anterior, all the grooves and everything. I think that was my favorite.
Yeah, and what's your favorite part to teach?
I think I like teaching circulatory system the most. I think that's fun. We get to dissect in that, and students really love the heart dissection. I think that's one of my favorite units. It's just not very long unit, but it's great. Get to take blood pressure and do all that kind of thing too.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that is all the time we have today. Thank you to Dr. Fuys and Milena for joining me on NVTV Podcast. The NVTV Podcast is produced by media students at Neuqua Valley High School. Enjoy the rest of your day.